Welcome to Cooking While Drunk. I am your drunk. Not yet, I'm not. Alright, so I got some cheap white wine, I got some frozen fruit, and some soda water. I'm going to make a little spritzer. White wine. I got my fresh fruit in there. Little splash of soda water. Kind of stir it up a little bit. So I've got chunks of cantaloupe, watermelon, and a handful of grapes, and these are all frozen, so don't even need to add ice. Let this sit for a few minutes, add a sprig of mint, which I don't have, and voila. Delicious. And I'm using a Sauvignon Blanc by The Walking Dead. Yes, I think it's from the show. It was only $2.99 at a grocery outlet, so you know what? It'll make a great spritzer, and it does. It could be a little sweeter, but as the watermelon and the cantaloupe and the grape kind of thaw out, they'll release their natural juice, which will flavor it even more. Alright, guess what we're making? Some good old mac and cheese. Baked mac and cheese. If you saw the camera shake, that's my wife, you know, giddy with excitement. So we're going to take 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to put it in the pot. My pot was already kind of warm, so I'll just take it off. So you let the butter melt, and you want it to melt, and then you want the bubbling to subside. You see how that's all the, I guess that's water that's bubbling out, because you know cream and butter has water in it. So once that bubbling subsides, you're going to add equal amounts of flour. So this is called a roux. So the way a roux works, it's just fat and flour that are cooked over low heat for a period of time, and then you keep stirring it. Now, you do not get it on your skin. It will burn right through your skin. So as soon as the bubbling subsides, you can go ahead and add the flour. So a roux is thickening power, basically. The blonder or lighter the roux, the more thickening power it will have in your bechamel, which is what we're going to make. The darker it gets, the more flavor it'll have, but it won't be as thick. So the foaming subsided, so now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. And you got to work fast because, you know, constantly stir it. If this starts to burn, you are screwed. You're SOL. So just whisk it around over low heat until it starts to cook. This will take a couple of minutes. So we'll be right back. Our roux will be done, and we'll keep going forward. Alright, we're back. Now you can see how we got a little bit darker. That's the way we want. Kind of a medium light blonde. Alright, so now we have 1/4 finely diced onion. Just give that a little bit of a stir. Once that gets nice, this will take about 30 seconds. You just want to cook out a little bit of the onion flavor. And then now you're going to add 2 cups of milk, or half and half. This happens to be whole milk. Actually, it's lactose-free milk, because that's all we have in this household because of our daughter. Give that a little stir. Scraping up the bottoms, so you don't want anything to burn, because if you burn roux, your day is ruined. You got to start all over from scratch. And yes, I usually burn roux. This time I did not.
I wouldn't say usually.
But
I'd say you have a few times.
No, I usually burn the roux and start over. I just don't tell you about it. So you think I'm a good cook, that's why. Alright, so we're going to let this cook for about 15 minutes. It'll start to thicken up, so you want this over medium heat. So this is gonna go for about 15 minutes. Give it a stir every couple of minutes, just to make sure nothing is sticking at the bottom. And then we'll be ready for the cheese. All right, so see you back in a few minutes. Ah, that's so tasty. All right, we're back. As you can see, it's thickened up quite a bit. So just keep, every couple of minutes, I should say, I give it a little stir so nothing sits on the bottom. So while this is going to continue for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to add a dash of paprika. This is Spanish, no, I'm sorry, this is Hungarian paprika that I have. My Spanish ones are in this cabinet, Hungarian's on that side. I gotta keep them separate, you know. Only for special occasions do I break out the Spanish ones. Alright, so that's gonna continue to thicken up for the next few minutes. While your oven is preset to 350, get your stick of butter. You want to lube up your casserole dish. So I always leave the butter paper on. It makes it a nice little handy. And just go like this. Swirl it in. Get all sides. Just swirl like that. And there. Easy. Nice and buttered enough so it won't stick. Comes out real easy. So now that this is done, I'm going to kill the heat. I'm going to continue to stir. So here we have 12 ounces of cheese. I have 4 ounces of extra sharp cheddar and 4 ounces of Colby, which is cheddar and jack blend. So do a handful at a time and you whisk it in. Once that handful is melted, you can move on to the next. If you just mix it all in one big clump, it'll just be like that. It'll be a mess. And at this point, if you think it's going to be a little too thick for your liking, add a little bit of milk. That's fine. Another handful, another stir. There we go. Another thing is if you put the cheese all at one time, the coldness of the cheese would cool down the bechamel. And bechamel is basically how we did the roux, which is flour and fat, and milk becomes a bechamel, and that's the base for a lot of sauces. Most importantly, mac and cheese. All right. Now I haven't seasoned it yet, so now I'm going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I bet it has more pepper, woman. Yes, I was running low on pepper and I just never bought any more. Give it a bit of a taste. Look how nice and cheesy that is. I think it needs a lot more salt. Alright, so in this other pot, I already have drained my macaroni. So today I'm using small macaroni, small elbow. I will alternate between macaroni and shells and what the other one's called. It's called cavatappi, where it looks like macaroni on a twist. It looks like it's all twisted up macaroni. So let's get this out of the way. Move this forward. Mix it up in this big old pot here. So when I do the macaroni, when it's done cooking, I will rinse it with a little bit of cold water, just so it stops the cooking process. And I always have a habit of snacking on it as well. Remember, stir the pot, take a sip. Rules are rules. Now we're just going to combine the two all together. Let me grab a spatula. Yes, this is so good. You want to get every bit. Then you get to lick the spatula. Yes, I am the kind of person that wants to scrape it all out. Give it a stir. Now here, if you wanted to add more milk, you could and do a stovetop macaroni. This is going to get baked.
You've got mail.
All right. We're gonna pour it into our casserole dish. So this is going to be thicker than you normally do, because what's good with leftovers, you put them up in little patties, season with a little bit of breadcrumbs, you pan fry them or roll them into balls and then deep fry them. Don't go out and pay for fried macaroni and cheese balls. That is not, what, 15, 20 bucks and you get 4 or 5 little pieces? Oh, they can kiss my, you know what.
The little Cheesecake Factory really does a good job at it. Not gonna lie. Worth every penny.
And it's just leftover macaroni and cheese. Basically. Alright, so I'm gonna pour this into our pan. I love thick macaroni and cheese because you can cut into it and do all kinds of. This is probably a little too much for this pan, but you know what? It'll work. Oh, it's not that much over. Kind of use your spatula to kind of nestle it in. And then we're going to top it off with some Parmigiano Reggiano. There we go. My grater. You can use Parmigiano Reggiano. You can use Manchego. You can use any other hard cheese, hard dry aged cheese like this. Is that enough? Give it a nice shave. You can shave it pre-hand, of course, but I actually like to shave right into the dish. I like to shave a lot. I mean, if anybody wants to go halves on a wheel, I'd be more than glad to go halves on a wheel with you. I just don't have that much money. When you get the wheel, of course, it actually has all of the markings of the Italian statuettes. I guess they have special numbering system that they do to ensure that it's real Parmigiano Reggiano. All right. So now we're going to top it off with a little bit of smoked salt. Today we're using a hickory smoked salt. Other options, I have a Baltic Sea black salt. I have a Cabernet Sauvignon smoked salt. What else do I have over there? I don't know. Oh, Cypress Sea, yeah. So a little bit around. This is a potent salt, so you don't need to use too much. As I put an extra dash. All right. I'm going to pop this into the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. And when we come back, it'll be time to serve it up. All right. So see you in a few minutes. See you in about 15. That's really good. All right, so we took it out of the oven and we let it sit on the stovetop for about 15 minutes. You need to let it cool down. If you scoop into it now, that is like hot molten lava. So, speaking of hot molten lava, shall we scoop some out? That's nice. This and that. You can hear the crunchiness of the got little brown spots from the noodles, a little bit of the cheese. Oh boy. Look at that. Now, if you'd like this to be a little more creamier, you can add a little more milk. You can actually use 3/4 cup of half and half, and then maybe 1/4 to 1/2 cup of heavy cream. That'll make it a little more creamy. Use a little less flour and butter so it isn't as thick. I like it like this. I think my wife does too, because I think she almost dropped the camera. And there we are. No toppings needed except, you know, I gotta have my, what's my sauce called? Death Stalker. I gotta have that. That is the best on mac and cheese. I'm sorry. You don't know how proud I am of this sauce that my daughter picked out for me, which I forgot. I don't have it here. I took it to work. That's why I always have it. You can use any type of hot sauce to add on to it. Don't use Tabasco or anything that's heavy vinegar flavor, because that will just kind of ruin the flavor of the cheese. If you got a little bit of Frank's Red Hot, you can splash a little bit of that on, or just slice up some jalapenos and just slice and serve that on top. So there it is, mac and cheese done my way. Eat your heart out, Cheesecake Factory. Thank you guys very much. Hope you guys enjoyed this, I would have to say, not so easy but uncomplicated recipe. You guys have a good night.